Welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast, episode 147.
Greetings and welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Don Cardenas. Today I'm joined by the incredibly talented Elaine Will. Elaine, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Elaine is on to talk about The Last Band on Earth, their new Kickstarter, their graphic novel that has been a long time coming because they've been publishing the single issues, which I've read most of them, and it's a fantastic book, and I'm really glad it's going to be in a graphic novel form now that I can just binge at. And it's doing just absolutely awesome on Kickstarter right now, and I want to talk to Elaine all about that stuff, especially because, you know, I love music and comics. I love all that. I also want to pick their brain about drawing guitars because I think that's how we first came across each other was
I think so.
Talking about drawing guitars. So excited to do all that, but you know the rules of the show. Elaine, Comics Coffee Metal, what are you digging right now?
So I guess I'll start with coffee. So I always make pour over coffee in a little thing called a Ready Set Joe, and I have it with cream and sugar. I wish that I could drink it black, but unfortunately I can't.
I'm the same.
Yeah. And I also can't drink Starbucks coffee, even the light roast, because it upsets my stomach.
Yeah. It's not good coffee anyway.
It's not. No. I knew it wasn't just me.
No.
Yeah.
Apparently the Starbucks reserve places are where they actually make good coffee. I have a friend who goes to one of those from time to time, and they're like, yeah, it's like when people talk about Starbucks being great coffee, like this is what they're supposed to be talking about. Like this is probably what they're intending it to be, but like because the regular Starbucks, they roast it too much. Everything's just too much bitter. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a sucker for chai lattes at Starbucks. That's my vice on there. But coffee, no thanks. No thanks.
Yeah, there was. What did I have there one time that was really good? The caramel apple latte or something.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, that's not even coffee. That's just pure sugar.
Yeah. My wife likes the seasonal drinks a lot. Not necessarily the pumpkin spice ones, but they have like a lot of like good ones. Like I think there's like a pecan one, oat milk one, or something.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm just the basic bitch chai latte every time. That's just me. I don't stray from that. It is what it is, but I'm happy with it. So, do you have a specific like roaster you like to use, or beans that you like to use for your coffee, or?
Yeah, so mostly at home I drink Melita coffee, the medium roast, and usually just grounds. Sometimes we get beans too. I'm kind of lazy and I don't like grinding my own beans, and I also don't like the sound it makes.
Yeah,
it's like a sensory nightmare for me. So
yeah, it definitely can't be. It can be an unpleasant thing.
It tastes better, but it's not worth it. And then I also like the Kicking Horse Three Sisters medium roast from BC. That's really good. But of course, it's a lot more expensive than Melita, so that's a special treat.
It's I've been wanting to try some more roasters, and I think they were one of the roasters that I was looking at, but I'm like, oh, the shipping was like kind of nuts.
Yeah.
And I was like I meant to go see if they had like, you know, any like United States places that ship out or whatever like that, because there's a couple places that like they actually have like they ship some to Amazon or whatever, and Amazon ships it out.
Yeah, I was Googling it earlier, and I saw there was kickinghorse.ca, but there was also .com, so maybe they have a US distributor now. I'm not sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I'm always looking for. I have my go-tos, but I always like to look around for different roasters and stuff like that. And I haven't really done that in a while. We've kind of just been sticking with the same ones. But you know, we also are kind of lucky that there's a lot of great roasters in the Midwest, and a lot of them are like in local grocery stores. There's a really good one in around Chicago called Two Brothers that they're just in our grocery store, and sometimes it's on sale. So, you know, just pick that up to offset the giant 5-pound bag I get from Rootless Coffee out of Michigan every couple months. So, but awesome. I don't do the pour over. just because I'm probably too impatient for something like that. I've done the French press, and I'm pretty sure pour over isn't any more time consuming than that. But in my head, I'm like, it's just like I'm just too impatient for it. Um,
Yeah, I really like French press coffee, but I don't make it because again, I can't be bothered to clean out the French
yeah,
press.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
that's the
I
least
can't
fun
do
part about it. Yes.
it.
Um, and but do you find like having like the little ritual of having the pour over and doing all I don't know how like in depth you go with it, like do you make sure the water is the right temperature and all that, or you just kind of like, yeah, it looks fine, I'm gonna I'm gonna pour it in,
Yeah,
or all that.
so yeah, the water has to be just boiled. And yeah, I guess I have kind of a ritual of rinsing off my previous spoon and using the spoon again. And then also, while I wait for the kettle to boil and the coffee to pour through, I will dry the dishes in the sink from the previous night.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I get about a lot of like the more intensive like coffee prep stuff is because you can develop this nice little ritual with it.
Mhm.
And I kind of do with, because I we do grind our beans at home. um we got a burr grinder recently as opposed to like that little fast blade one. It's much more palatable to the ears.
Oh,
It's still louder, it's still a grinding sound, but it's not as like sharp, I guess,
Mhm.
of a sound, and it's a little bit more muted. So um that's it's just been kind of like the little ritual. Like I'll get back in the house from the gym in the morning, you know, tell the kids to wake up, bring out the grinder, grind our beans, you know, and then just kind of get that little ritual of everything getting ready. So that's kind of like why like to talk to people about the coffee thing too. Not because only also because I do love it and want to know what other people are enjoying, but like I like the I hearing what everyone's like ritual with it, because it's something that when you don't do for a while, you realize like, oh, I kind of miss this, because
Mhm.
that happens to me sometimes if I'm like trying to be like proactive, like, oh, I'll grind the beans the night before and get everything ready. I'm like, yeah, it's ready like when I wake up, but it's like, you know, I kind of like feel like something's missing out of my morning for a second there. So
Yeah, when I go and visit my mom and dad, they have a Keurig, and I don't
mhm.
like Keurig coffee because it tastes like plastic.
You know,
Uh,
yeah, it's we recently got one over Christmas last year. They're like on a really, like the smallest one was like on a really big sale, so we got that, and I was more excited for like, oh, like they have like the lattes
mhm.
or whatever, so just something small, whatever you can do. But a lot of them used some of the artificial sweeteners that don't agree with me very
Oh
well.
yeah.
So I'm like, even just flavor wise, I'm just like, ugh, like it's got stevia, or it's got what was the other one? I forget the other one, but like it just like it just the taste of it just like ruins everything for me. So I've tried some coffee through that, through the Keurig. It's a means to an end.
Yeah. I mean, I'll drink it, but I don't really like
Yeah,
it. And,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like they do have a kettle, but they don't have an electric kettle. So it's
okay,
on the stove, a gas stove, and
yeah,
it takes forever for the water to boil. And I can't be bothered making pour over
yeah.
coffee at their house, so I just have Keurig coffee.
Uh, we used to have electric kettle for a long time. Then we stopped. Ended up getting one of those coffee makers that has the hot water thing too. So it'll heat up the water for us. So we ended up just like giving away our electric kettle. But recently we went back to just like a regular coffee maker after like several years. So my wife actually wanted to get like the regular kettle to whistle and all of that, because one, we're not in a rush, because usually just making tea or something like that. But like she was all about like, I need something that's gonna whistle. I miss hearing a whistling kettle. And I'm like, I get it, I get it.
Yeah, I get that.
I tried making tea once with it, and I was the same as you. I'm like, this is taking way too long. Like I just need this to just boil. I'm just staring at it boil, boil. Come on, and it's just like too much. But yeah. So well, I think we got coffee pretty well covered. Comics or metal? What do you want to tackle next?
Yeah, I'll do comics.
Okay.
So, I because I spend a lot of time drawing comics, I don't have a lot of time right now to actually read them. So, earlier this year, I was a judge for the Doug Wright Awards for Best Book. So I got to read a bunch of Canadian books that came out last year. And so one of the books I really liked was A Guest in the House by E.M. Carroll. And we chose that as the winner for Best Book. So probably a lot of people listening to this will be familiar with it, but in case they aren't, it's about a middle-aged woman named Abby who has moved to the coast and married a man, a widowed dentist, who has a young daughter. And Abby works at the local grocery store and is sort of drifting through life. She doesn't really feel connected to the town or her new husband or his daughter. And she knows this isn't the life she wanted. She eventually starts to converse with a ghost that haunts their house on the lake. And I don't want to say much else because that'll spoil it. Again, I probably don't have to say much else. This book is of the same high standard you come to expect from E.M. Carroll's other work. Definitely one of the best horror cartoonists working today. And then I found a book at Prairie Comics Festival in Winnipeg a few weekends ago called Botanica Drama by Tom, Thom. And this is it feels like a lost like European animated classic that was never made. So it's a silent graphic novel about a small town on a hill inhabited by various anthropomorphic cartoon animals and plants. And our heroes are a small, adorable anthropomorphic flower named Philomene and their best friend, Death, who both run a small coffee shop in the town. So one evening, the sun parties too hard with the moon and several other celestial bodies and develops a massive hangover and decides not to rise again the next day and the next day, and so on for several months until the world becomes dark and cold and all the plants begin to die, including Philomene, whose petals gradually start falling off through the course of the book. And there are also very tall, very skinny, faceless humanoid creatures that start attacking the town. So I really love this book. The art is so expressive and clean, and the use of black is really great. The character designs are also great. It has kind of a cute but dark aesthetic, which I love. And I won't spoil how the characters eventually convince the sun to return, but it's fantastic. And I'm definitely going to have to track down Tom's other books. Apparently, some of them are in this same universe.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's what I've been enjoying lately.
That sounds really fun. That's that's one of the best things about talking to folks about stuff, because these are books that, even though I'm familiar with E.M. Carroll, like Tom, like I've never heard of this creator before, and that sounds like a really like awesome book I want to go check out, and I would not have come across it most likely by any means other than just hearing someone else talk about it. So definitely go check that out. On that vein, I'm making comics, don't have a lot of time to read them. That's the drum we're all banging every time. Every time. But I've thankfully been able to get some more reading time in, and recently my previous guest, Sean Mandrake, has a really fantastic book called Blood of the Taken, which is like a good nice horror book for October. It's about kind of like an old school vampire who kind of wants to restart her family with some pretty unwilling gentlemen who don't want to join the vampire family there. And it's one of those things that's got like a lot of like really funny moments in like these really dark sections. And you mentioned the other books that the about the artwork being big and expressive. Like Sean's work in this book, it's like one of those styles that I wouldn't normally associate with horror comics. Whoa, there goes my camera. That's reasonable. All right. So yeah, it's kind of the kind of artwork I wouldn't normally associate with like a horror book. A bit more cartoonish, but it's something I've been talking about for a while, where like I want to see styles like that doing other things. Like a buddy of mine, Shadia Amin, they have a really great cartoony style. They've done the Spider Ham books and stuff like that, and I'm like, I would really love to see them do like some gnarly horror thing with that style. It just seems like such a disparate thing that it seems more intriguing to me than like a hyper realistic style or something like that. I don't know if
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Have you read Beautiful Darkness?
no, it's definitely one of those books that's like, I know I have to read this book at some point. Enough people have talked about it, enough people have mentioned it, and brought it up in conversations that I know I have to get to it. But for some reason, I feel like man, I for some reason I feel like it's just going to wreck me in some way. so,
Yeah,
so,
it's
I,
kind of brutal actually. But
so I'm
it's
like, I
yeah,
don't know
of
if I'm
course
there
it's like
yet.
this
Yeah,
gorgeous watercolor illustrations. It looks like a children's book almost.
yeah,
But yeah,
Eh,
it's very upsetting.
yeah, yeah. And I'm all for a good comic just to wreck me, but like, yeah, I need to. I think I need some more space right now. I think with that for sure. Because there's been a few books like that have been really like I've really connected with too. There was One Soul many years ago. That one was a huge book I connected with, and then there was a Day Tripper by the
Oh yeah.
they were really they were that was a really big book that came we read that was around a friend of ours passing at the same time. So it's kind of like one of those things, like kind of like for me anyway, helping like process a lot of that and all that. But yeah, I'm as much as I love to read like a good Godzilla stomps through the city and fights another monster book. I'm also super excited for a book that is just gonna like rip my heart out, show it to me, mess it up a bit, and then shove it back in my chest. But that's the awesomeness of comics. We can do what we can make those kinds of books, and we can read those kinds of books throughout the whole swath of everything. So yeah,
For
uh,
sure.
yeah. Well, we didn't. I didn't clarify this with you before we started, but like, are you a metal person? Because I know, Last Band on Earth. The band in there is described as noise rock and stuff like that. But do you have some metal tendencies in there, or do you have is that not something you've really ever gotten into?
So my husband is the one who's really into metal, and
Okay,
so yeah, we spend a lot of time listening to Sirius XM, the liquid metal station, in the car from point A to point B.
nice.
Uh, and but I've gotten into like some of it through osmosis.
Okay,
So
nice.
I haven't really done a deep dive on too many bands, but I really like Gojira, and I was into them before
Hmm.
the Olympics, and I know lots of people were. I'm not special, but and I also really like Body Count.
Okay,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I had an embarrassing new metal phase in high school that we don't talk about, so
Well,
that probably doesn't count.
new metal was kind of like the metal in my latter high school days. So it's like, is it really embarrassing, or it's just what it is? Like, of course, you mentioned Gojira, so it's like a dog whistle to me. Like, oh, Gojira, okay, because I will talk about Gojira to the ends of the earth. But then you also bring new metal, so I have to bring it up again. My wife and I just saw Korn and Gojira and another band, Spirit
Oh,
Box,
that's an interesting
in
bill.
concert,
Okay.
and they were all great. They all did a fantastic job.
Hmm.
I have nothing against Korn. Like, I like a lot of their songs. I'm mostly a big fan of their acoustic EP they did back when MTV did the unplugged stuff for a while. Um, so I was telling my wife, like, I'm really here for Spirit Box and Gojira. Like, we can leave at any point during Korn. Like, we can get home a little early if we want to. But they put on a really good show. They played enough of the songs that we knew. It was a really good time.
I did
Uh,
like Korn a lot when I was younger. I don't
yeah,
really dig them now. I don't know.
yeah. It's uh, whenever they come out with a new album, I give them a spin. I'm like, okay, let me see if something from this one grabs me, and nothing really does. There was one album of theirs aside from the acoustic one that I really liked called Untouchables, but it wasn't even the one that was released. Uh, that album in the metal area community was like kind of famous for being leaked really early via whatever was around in 2002, 2000, no, 2000-ish, 2001-ish. Well, however you could leak an album that way, not necessarily maybe some sort of Napster-ish type situation, but It was like a much different mix and mastering situation with that album, and a friend of mine gave me a copy of it, and I'm like, wow, this is really great. I normally didn't really care too much about Korn. And then like when the official album came out, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go buy the official album. I'm not gonna be a jerk about it. And it's like it sounded so different that I'm like, it's good, but it's not the thing I was enjoying. But
Hmm.
but
Interesting.
I have since lost that CD, and it was gone before I had a chance to like actually back it up on a computer or anything like that. So it's now lost to the annals of time for me. But Gojira is one of my top. It's my second favorite band of all time. And they rose to that position within like the past 6 or 7 years from me like finally getting into them. So pretty impressive in my brain. Like, wow, okay, they're it. But yeah, they're really great. And when they had the whole Olympics thing, I was, I did my best to not be unbearable about it because it was so great.
It was really
But
good. I really
it,
enjoyed
it
it.
it was like I just just, and it was also it's like, yes, this is not only that, just like, but like they just they just did such a great job of just like blowing people away, like, oh wait,
Yeah,
what,
the whole
like
the
what
whole
is this?
spectacle was amazing.
Yeah. um and all that. So yeah, they're just great. They're just really great. I think they're neat.
I just think they're neat.
Yeah, I did have a bit of an obsessive run with them because like one of my guitars, I have like the custom guitar pickup from the main guy in Gojira, and I have their they put out a drum samples played by their drummer and all that for a drumming program. So I have that. I have their branded amp simulator in my computer with all the guitar tones and stuff they use. So I'm a bit obsessive about it, but not too bad, not cripplingly obsessive. But like I said, like I just really latched onto them because a lot of their stuff like really connected with me, and even with the music they play was like really influenced. Like, oh, this is kind of like how I want to write songs and I want to do things and stuff like that. So I'm glad you're a fan as well. I'll
Yeah,
stop rambling about it. I
still working
promise.
my way through their discography. I'll probably get through it eventually.
Yeah. Oh, well, Magma is their easiest one to get through,
Yeah,
to latch into, and then there's Amazonia. What was it? Not Amazonia. Fortitude is the next one that would be. But
yeah,
if
those are the two that I have spent the most time with so far.
yeah, yeah. As you go further back, it gets more and more death metal-y
Mhm.
kind of stuff. But from Mars to Sirius is another good one that has that Flying Whale song. That's one of their biggest songs.
Yeah.
Uh, and all that. So, but are there any other like metal bands that you're like kind of dipping your toes in with, or
So I like some of the new wave of British heavy metal stuff, like Iron Maiden
okay?
and Judas Priest. Um, and if hardcore counts, does hardcore count?
I say it does.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm kind of getting into this band called Stray from the Path that again my
Okay.
husband found, and then another band called Initiate. They have a music video where they're playing in the desert, and I'm like, oh, this gives me really Last Band on Earth vibes. I love this.
Nice, nice. Awesome. I haven't dipped my toes too much into like the hardcore metal stuff, but there's been a few bands that are kind of more thrashier that I've been suggested, and I really enjoy. So I'm making my way into there. I like all the genres of metal to a point, even some like black metal stuff. There's some stuff I like there, even though most of it's kind of eh, for me. For some of it's a little too much. Um, but usually in every subgenre of metal, there's something, a band somewhere I know I could probably get some sort of appreciation of, or enjoy. Which I bring this up on the show a lot, which is why I love, I liken it to comics so much, because you say, you like some metal, and you name it a couple bands. Like, I don't listen to those bands, but that doesn't make it any less true that you listen to metal. It's you ask someone their favorite metal bands, 10 different people their favorite metal bands, you're gonna get 10 different answers, and 10 different subgenres of that. So I think that's one of the awesome things about metal, and that's why I like tying it in with comics and tying the music and stuff in with comics as well. Was listening to was like incorporating music and comics always kind of something that you've done or wanted to do with that, or is this kind of like this where the story kind of led you when you were developing the last band on Earth?
Yeah, so it's actually a retooling of a comic that I did in high school
Okay.
called New Edge,
Okay.
and I only did one issue of that comic because I couldn't really figure out where it was going. But it was the same basic story. So it was a group of characters in a band trapped in this dangerous city. It's never really explained like what the city is or why they're there, why they can't leave. And also they were furries because I didn't enjoy drawing humans.
Uh, hey, sometimes, yeah, you know, I love drawing, just like goopy, weird monsters because sometimes like I don't want to draw people anymore.
Yeah, I
Actually,
still I still kind of prefer drawing, weird creatures or funny little guys,
yeah,
funny little anthropomorphic plant people instead of humans.
yeah. Yeah. Actually, just this afternoon, my son came up to me and he's like, "Daddy, why?" He's 5, and he's like, "Daddy, why are you drawing more people?" And I'm like, "Because there's people in the comic. I have to draw these people. Why are there so many people?" I'm like, "Well, they're at a concert, so there's a lot of people in the concert. Why do you have to draw them?" I'm like, "Because I decided this is what I have to do." How many more people you got to draw? Too many. Too many people.
It's a crowd scene.
I said I'd
It
rather be
never
drawing.
ends.
Yeah.
The people never end.
Yes. I said I'd rather be drawing monsters, and he's like, no. And I'm like, all right, thanks for your input. um, making me realize this is a never-ending sea of people I'm going to draw in this concert. Um, but no, that's that's the crux of making comics. So it's what everyone always says. Like, if you want to draw comics, you got to be cool at drawing everything. Like,
Mhm.
it's not all the cool, fun fight scenes or big splashy moments. It's people sitting down and having a cup of coffee sometimes, and you got to
No,
you got to
yeah.
sell it.
People
You got to
people
do it.
sitting people sitting around a table is the
Yeah,
worst.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
I would rather draw 1,000 horses being, wearing cowboy hats
Yeah.
than
Riding
have to draw,
bicycles.
yeah, riding bicycles than having to draw people sitting at a table page after page after page
Yeah,
after
no
page.
kidding.
But that's one day I'll probably learn to love it, and then I'll find some new thing to hate about drawing. But that's besides there. So, as we started talking about the last band on Earth, that's on Kickstarter right now. Um, you've been working on this book for a few years, and it's finally ready to be in a collection. My first thought is this a completed a one and done kind of story, or is there more of this world coming after this book? Not to, like, say, oh, you did this, what's next, but like, is this a planned, like, continuing thing, or like, if you stop now, you're happy with where you left everything?
I think probably if I stop now, then I'd be happy with it, but I've almost kind of left it open for more. So, yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of mystery in the book. There's a lot of uh, questions that need to be answered throughout the book and all that. So, um, I'm always down for, when someone's, has that answer you've given. Like, I'm fine if this is it, but there's always more. There's always more we could do. Do you play an instrument at all? Are you a guitar player or keyboardist or a drummer or anything like that? Because you've definitely have, like I said, I first came across your work talking about how to, I think you were had something about how to draw guitars or something like that, and I was like, oh, cool. Another person who's decided to punish themselves by drawing
Yes, another
instruments.
person who is very weird and likes to draw guitars for
um
some reason.
so 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 is this just something? So are you a musician yourself, or former, or aspiring?
So not really. Like I don't really play anything anymore, although I'd like to. So I've like tried to learn guitar. I've tried to dabble in guitar for many years. I never
Hmm.
really learned much beyond power chords and, a few other chords. So I studied piano for 10 years when I was growing up, and I got up to a pretty high level, grade 9, in the
Yeah.
Canadian Royal Conservatory curriculum. And once you've gotten your grade 8 certificate, you can teach piano. So I guess technically I could teach piano. Uh, and I also, the best thing about those certificates is that I was able to use them as high school credits.
Oh, that's good.
And so since the pandemic, I've been trying on and off to get back into piano. I could still read music and everything, and I guess I'd be at about a grade 3 level now. But unfortunately, having ADHD means that I'm not very disciplined about it, and I need to find someone to take lessons from again because I need that structure. I need
Yeah.
someone to guide me and give me things to work on from week to week. So a couple of years ago, I got really into the game Hollow Knight and actually bought the
Hmm.
piano sheet music book. But of course, most of it is way too hard for me to play. So I guess my ultimate goal would be to reach a point where I can play that stuff. And then
Nice.
I also have sheet music for Vince Guaraldi's Linus and Lucy theme from A Charlie Brown Christmas, and I can only play about half of that. It would be nice to learn the whole thing one day. And then I also played the cello in a string orchestra for a few years. And again,
Oh,
I wasn't very disciplined about that, and I didn't practice enough.
I mean, still, I mean, one of those things that I'm always kicking myself for is not taking the time to properly learn how to read music. I had taken like a guitar class at community college many years ago, and I was learning how to read some of it, but like it was one semester of a class and I didn't keep up with it. So unless it's a guitar tab online, I'm just I don't know.
Yeah, I can
Um,
only read it if it's piano. Basically, I can't read music and transpose that to guitar at all. Yeah,
and piano is definitely one of those things where I'm like, man, I wish I learned how to do that, because whenever I'm like tinkering with music or something and I want to have like a piano part or whatever, I got my little keyboard or whatever, and I can, I know kind of like, oh, okay, I want, an A chord here, but like I don't know all the chords on piano, so I kind of have to like dumb it out, and then like it just takes so much longer. Like I'll get to where I want to be with it, but it takes me so much longer because I'm like just doing it the hard way. Like I'm finding out where these things are, and then trying to like put it all together, and piecemeal it together. I am right there with you with the ADHD thing. Uh, I've been wanting to like buckle down more and get more practice in, because I have so many of these damn things. I feel like I need to be a lot better than I am if I'm going to justify having all these things on my wall. But it's really tough to like, you know, make that brain hyperfixation like work for you and the thing you
yeah.
want to work on at the
Yeah, well,
time.
and also like there's right now there's only enough space in my brain for
Yeah.
comics and making art, and not enough for doing piano again. I would really like to play the piano again desperately,
Yeah.
but yeah, not right now, I guess.
Well, for someone who says they're not really much, you sound like you definitely have plenty of musical background, and as a musician, I appreciate the level of detail you go in with a lot with some of the instruments and stuff like that. Not that I judge anyone who doesn't, because drawing instruments sucks sometimes.
Yes.
Um, and I'm totally fine if people are like, I'm going to take some liberties with how this thing looks, and that's totally fine. Um, I don't give myself that grace, but I, that's just me being hard on myself, because I'm sure no one else cares but me about something like that. But yeah, it's always appreciated on my end with stuff like that. So when you were developing the book, and did the style of music they were playing, was that something that was uh not not dead set from the beginning? Did you play on, like, are they a punk band, or are they just like a rock band, or are they like, because landing on, a noise rock band, like, that's usually if there's a story about a band, it's not a noise rock band. That's not a road often traveled.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I appreciate I appreciate the variety of it, because I do enjoy some good noise rock from time to time. So was there like an actual decision being made, like they're a noise rock band, or is it more of like that just kind of ended up how it was?
So in the original comic I did in high school, they were just a punk rock band, or I guess almost post punk. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I guess I wanted them to be, kind of a niche genre, because they're really struggling, especially in this like purgatory dimension. They're
Yeah.
really, really struggling to make it, and just to get anybody to care about this weird music they're making. And I think also uh, having it be noise rock reflects the chaos that the story devolves into later on.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely fits the theme of the book. 100%. Um, we've been talking about the book for a little bit, but I failed to start at the outset. Elaine, what the hell is The Last Band on Earth?
So it's like a quasi dystopia, quasi horror, quasi road movie. Uh, it's about a noise rock band called the Dead Layaways, who are trapped in this city ruled by demons, and they want to escape so they can go on tour in whatever might be left of the world. And this whole thing may or may not be a metaphor for depression.
Well, first off, kudos on the name The Dead Layaways. I think that's a fantastic band name.
Thank you.
Um, and second, as you mentioned, this the theme of the story is kind of could be an analog for depression and all that, and uh, making comics addressing mental health and all that seems to be something that you're very passionate about and all that. Is there a driving force behind that, or because we all kind of have something we're dealing with at some point in our lives. um so is there like an impetus for like your desire to make stories that kind of address these things and all that, or is it more of a this kind of topic is just ripe for metaphor and analog to like tell these other stories with, if that makes sense, if the question I'm asking makes any sense, like.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I did look straight ahead. Gosh, over a decade now, a decade ago now. And so that was my first graphic novel about a teenage boy's struggle with depression and psychosis. And that was loosely based on my own experiences. And I decided to do that book because I noticed there weren't a lot of books out there at the time about mental illness. There weren't a lot of comics, a lot of graphic novels about it. So I kind of saw a niche that needed filling there. And of course, now there are quite a few more.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say that I was a pioneer, but maybe I was. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, no, I could totally say that, like, 10 years ago, I don't think you would have found nearly as many books directly addressing these types of situations, these types of feelings, these types of, uh, you know, mental illness discussions that uh, we have now, which is, great for now. It's great for now. And it's great that people like you decided back then, like, hey, I need to make this book. Because it's never like, I have a distinct feeling that for you, comics isn't like, yeah, I want to make comics. It's like, no, I need to make
I
comics.
have to make comics.
I
It is my therapy.
this,
Yes.
this is the thing I have to do.
I have to do it
Otherwise,
or I will die.
yeah.
Literally.
um, and that leads to many amazing books, and it's definitely a feeling I can appreciate and agree with. Um, so yeah, just having this kind of those things just being kind of like an open discussion in the book, but also being able to tie it into a story that is kind of fun, kind of tragic, kind of all that, and just really being able to tie it in so well as you do with The Last Band on Earth is really really awesome, and I'm looking forward to finishing the story off and seeing where everything ends up. Um, I don't remember if I picked up all the issues when they were single issues, because I'm terrible about buying things digitally and then like forgetting I bought them digitally. Because I know I read the first few a few months ago, but I'm looking forward to the whole collection and all that being set up and out and all that. Is there when you're developing the characters, was there a lot of kind of how did the characters come for you in terms of like their personalities, their looks, their kind of roles within the band and all that? Was it something that you were, I need a bass player, is Nat going to be the bass player, or is it like how did those characters come across? Because whenever I'm developing characters and stuff like that, it always ends up being like who who do I need in this story, as opposed to I have this person, what's the story I can make for them? How does that work for you? Was there the chicken or the egg, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, so two of them were based on characters from the original version, and then the other two were new creations, basically. So yeah, I guess I wanted them to have different enough personalities that they would play off of each other well. So both Nat and Axel kind of have bad tempers at times and they clash with each other. And Axel also thinks that he's really tough. He tries to act really tough, but he's not. So that makes for some interesting things that happen. And Rick is so laid back that he's practically asleep, and nothing phases him, or again, nothing appears to phase him. Inside, quite often he's terrified, but he would never let anyone show that. There was a blue sky meme a while ago. What kind of online posters would your characters be? And I decided Rick has like a secret drill type account that nobody knows about it. No one knows about, and he's never seen
Yes.
posting. He's never seen on his phone. No one knows how he has the time to do this. And then
That's awesome.
Will, the drummer, is just afraid of everything, and hides in his room most of the time,
Awesome.
like
Awesome.
me. Yay!
I mean, there's always bits of yourself in all your characters,
Oh yeah.
um like with Evie and the Housings, even though Steve kind of came to me with the story and the general outline of the characters, I've you know been glad, fortunate enough that we've worked back and forth on these characters. Like I could point to any of the characters in that band, in that book, and say this is this part of me, this is this part of me, this is this part of me. Um and it's so that's kind of like the fun thing about developing the character, because you get to put yourself in there. It's just you don't want to make it just you though. You don't want to make the, unless you're doing like a direct autobiographical thing, you don't want to make like a one-to-one analog of yourself. But like, there's I'm not going to mention which character it is, but like there's a character who, like, in my head is this like quick to anger and really petty, and there's a part of me that is like that I don't care for. But I'm like, that person's reactions are totally what, like, the little intrusive thoughts in my brain are like sometimes that I have to fight against with people, versus the other character who just wants everyone to get along and be friends. Let's all just chill and hang out. Let's just all have fun. And there's definitely the that being part of me too. So do you feel like that Elaine is properly spread out amongst these characters?
I think so.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, which is always, it's interesting too, because I'm, even though I contribute as much as I can with the story and all that with our book, I'm still primarily the artist. I'm not also the writer, so I don't have complete control over all of that. So you being the writer and artist, do you find that stuff you want to write or put in the book that you kind of disagree with yourself as an artist about, or vice versa. Like I kind of want to draw. I would think it'd be really cool to have draw this kind of scene, but then the part of your brain that's the writer part is like, well, it doesn't make sense. Like we don't have this yet, or we don't have why we needed to do this yet.
Yeah, so there was this chase scene that I wrote for issue 3, I think it was, and I kept trying to put it in over and over again. I couldn't really make it work. So I retooled part of it for the last chapter. And then my friend Mark Michaud did a pin up for me, and he basically drew the chase scene. And I was like, oh, hey, I wrote a scene just like that. And I never put it in the book.
Nice. Awesome. Is yeah, it's something I like to ask anyone who is a writer and artist doing their own work. Is this like that how do you write? Like, do you start with the script? Do you start with, written, at least like a written plot, or do you kind of figure it out in thumbnails and drawing and then kind of like bounce back and forth between things?
Yeah, so I try to write chapter by chapter, basically. So I had a very rough outline I was working from at the start of the whole story. And yeah, then I wrote a chapter and I would draw the chapter and then write the next chapter, draw that chapter, and so on and so forth. And that's because, like, to maintain my interest in the book, I have to be drawing. I can't just be writing the whole book. So yeah, I do kind of fly by the seat of my pants a bit too much, maybe.
Well, I mean, there's definitely benefits to doing something like that. Especially, for, people like us who have ADHD and all that, like it keeps that motor running. We're like, okay, I'm still having this interest in this. I'm still doing this because you're laying down the tracks in front of you as you're going.
Yeah.
And it could lead to disaster, or it could lead to your destination. Who knows? Let's find out. But it's always something that I struggle with as I try to write more stuff for myself or for anybody else. Where it's like, how, like, just sitting down. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem sitting down in front of a blank screen and just writing and typing and doing all that stuff, but I definitely have a smaller tolerance of that than I do trying to do thumbnails or trying to do layouts. And more often than not, whenever I start a story like that, I usually like stop after a few pages and I just kind of like start sketching it out, like to kind of figure it out that way in a visual sense. So it's interesting to hear, like, you have a very set way you do it, which is awesome, because now you have your method and all that, as trepidatious it may be sometimes. I'm sure at least you have your method, and it seems to be working. It seems to be working. So in terms of how you work, do you do much work traditionally or digitally? I know there's some digital work on the book, but do you do any inking traditionally, or is it kind of when you have to?
So I penciled the first 2 chapters on paper, and then I finished them digitally, and then issue 3 onwards is all digital. So I did the pencils in the computer as well. And I'm really excited about that, because, like, I've been trying to get to a point where I could draw something in the computer from scratch for the past 2 decades, and I thought I would never be good at it. So so it feels really good that I'm finally good at it. And it's also like it has probably improved my workflow in a lot of ways. So yeah.
Yeah. What do you use for your drawing?
Clip Studio.
Okay. Do you work on an iPad or Wacom or other type of tablet device?
Yeah, so I have one of the cheaper brands of Wion. I think it's pronounced Wion. I don't know.
Leon? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I have one right there. It's my
yeah, it's really
it
really good.
was because yeah, I first started trying to draw digitally, I think like 10 years ago. And I was just trying to get my feet with it, and I got like the little base level like Wacom bamboo. Not even it wasn't a screen. It was a little still
Mhm.
little pad you had to look at, and there's such a disconnect. I couldn't really do anything besides just like sketching roughly or whatever. I could never get that. I'm drawing here, but I'm looking at the thing here, and I can't. Yeah, it just never worked. And then I bought a my first drawing monitor that was like one of the first really cheap ones, and was it Monoprice was the brand, and it was usable for some things. It was definitely what it costs. I eventually had to stop using it because this like they didn't update the drivers, and like Windows, like I couldn't like keep using the same Windows anymore, so it just wouldn't like recognize it at all. So it's like sitting in my attic now. Like, it's perfectly fine, but it's like it doesn't do what it has to do because there's no one's updating the drivers for it, so
Mm.
it doesn't connect, doesn't do anything. And then and then a couple of years, about a year or so later, I got a Huion, which was really nice. I really liked it. I did a lot of work on it, but I think in 2020 I bit the bullet and I got the iPad, and that was the big game changer for me. Like just having just for some reason that setup really made that connection for me. Was there a point where you felt like you finally like, okay, this I'm as satisfied with this digital work as I am with my traditional work? Was there like a point you can remember where you've had that realization, or was it just kind of an after the fact thing? You're like, oh wow, I did it. It's the book's
Um,
finished. It looks like I did it the other way.
yeah, well, I don't know if it was with the book, but it was probably in 2021 when I did one of those, October drawing challenges, and it
Hmm.
was a Hollow Knight themed one. And I completed every day of the challenge and I did them all digitally. And I think, yeah, by the end of that month, I was like, yeah, I got it now. This is great.
Was there are there like for me one of the big things was finding like the right brush and settings within that brush that kind of like, okay, this mimics what I do normally enough to where it doesn't feel like I'm relearning how to do things. Was there any kind of like curve of that for you, or were you just not that, or was your brain not that hard on you for that? Yeah.
Yeah, I made some notes about this. So brushes, yeah, I could get so into the weeds with that.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people who refuses to share what brushes they use and claim the brush doesn't matter because actually it does.
Yeah. I
like,
mean,
like as I said, I struggled with digital art for so many years, and I would definitely say that finding the right brushes made all the difference. Uh, so I like to sketch my roughs with a really soft pencil. So my favorite one to use for that is the Deutscher Colorist Toothy from the True Grit Chromograph pack.
okay.
And then from Final Pencils, I use one of two Frienden brushes, the
Okay. I
6B
love
pencil or the RNG pencil.
nice. Nice.
And for inks, that's harder to pin down because it changes so often. I'm forever like trying out different ink brushes. The two that I keep returning to are the Rusty Nib #2 and the Noisy Nib, which are both from the True Grit Rusty Nib pack. And then I also really like the Milt pen from the same pack and the Frienden Kurtz donut brush.
Nice. Yeah, Frenden's brushes are that's what did it for me.
Yeah,
The one,
yeah, that's what did it for me too.
uh,
I just tried out a ton of them on the Hollow Knight pieces. Yeah.
and yeah, it's the for me it's the Not Scott brush inkers.
Okay,
Um,
I haven't tried those
those are
ones.
I believe they're supposed to be like mimicking like Scott Williams inks, who would ink over Jim Lee in the '90s and all that. And being the age that I am, that was my era of growing up in comics. But like just the way the nib and the brush work, and also like getting the right settings for everything on the brush itself, not as it was also very key. But yeah, I love just playing with the brushes, like even like with the textures, you know with I'm starting to mess with like putting textures on like the denim jackets and stuff like that, and that's really fun. I recently picked up a fantastic artist, Jason Piperberg. He just put out a whole bunch of dry brushes.
Oh, I saw those. Yeah, those look awesome.
I'm like, all right, let me get them. And first off, I only thought it was like a handful of them, and it was like $9. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm fine with that. But it is like over 40 brushes,
Oh,
and
wow.
I've just started using them today, and just for the sheer like using them for like textures, a
Hmm.
lot of them, it's like they're stupid good. Like I'm just like in love with them immediately. They definitely have a great feel to them, and like I love using the dry brush for like if you're just messing with a background texture or something like that, and all that, and those are just amazing. I can't wait to like dig into the rest of them. But if anyone's watching is like, I want some cool dry brushes for textures and stuff like that, yeah, Jason Piperberg's, they're amazing. I can't recommend them enough. I've used his stuff for I think the Kirby Crackle brushes he has. I've used those before, probably a couple other ones, but and they look really great in terms of like also for like penciling, which I'm really excited to try out, because
Hmm.
penciling digitally is something that I still kind of struggle with. I still kind of struggle with getting something quote unquote finished pencil wise digitally, because just something about the it's just I can't find that thing with it. So, but I thank you for sharing your brushes. I've been meaning to check out the True Grit ones, that True Grit supply place, because they
Yeah,
seem
they're
to have
awesome. I use them for
fantastic stuff,
everything.
especially a lot of their textures and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
that are really fun to play
I do
with.
I do like to sketch with a paper texture too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like, wanting to check out some more stuff like that, just because just having that, even just like if it's just a visual of it and just seeing like kind of the ridges and kind of like the texture and all that, it really does put your brain at a certain spot. um Especially with like now on my iPad, I have like the uh the knockoff version of the paper like screen that has like that kind of roughs up. It's like a kind of like a rough screen protector where it has
Oh
like a
yeah.
tube to it. And that really helps out a lot too. It's not um you know super 100% required, but if you like to have a little bit more drag to things, that's pretty cool. Do you I don't know if the Huyans have those anymore, but or do they have like the different kinds of nibs for the pens, or is it like, because I know Wacom has like the felt tip one that kind of helps with like the things not be so slick or whatever. I don't know if Huian's kind of adopted that kind of thing with it as well.
I'm not sure. I think this pen just uses one nib. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I'm just curious, because even when it comes to like all digital, there's somehow also a lot of like just physical things you have to deal with
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
digital part.
Well, yeah, and now that you mentioned that, I don't really like drawing in the iPad because I don't
Yeah.
like the way the Apple Pencil feels.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and I guess like if I had a screen protector on mine, it would probably make a huge difference. But it hurts my hand. Like if I draw for more than an hour
Mm.
with that, I'm in
Yeah.
pain.
Well,
So yeah, but
yeah.
but the YM pen is really fat, so I
Yeah.
like that.
I was worried about that too with the Apple Pencil, because I'm a death gripper as well. Like
Yeah.
I just like would do that, but um, I think the fact that especially now, because I had to get the new one because my old one stopped working the way I needed it to. The newest pencil has like a squeeze function, and in
Oh
Clip
yeah.
Studio now I can do a quick select. I can set up quick selecting to brushes from the squeeze function, which is really great.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, but also like it stops me from squeezing too much or gripping too much, because then I'm just going to keep activating it, and so like it's given me enough of a barrier to like not do that. But I totally understand the not liking it, because even then this newest pencil, like the weight's distributed a little bit differently, distributed, sorry, a little differently. because they changed like where it charges on, or they changed the charging mechanism or something on it. So like that took some getting used to for me as well, because I was so used to how the other one sat in my hand for a few years. Now I got this new one where it kind of sits differently. It's just I it made me feel like really dumb for even drawing digitally, because I'm like, why am I struggling with this? Because I should just be using a regular freaking pencil on paper. Like people like no one's like picking up their pencil to draw on paper. Like this feels different now, because I've sharpened it too much or whatever. No, this is much more natural. But I with two kids and kind of erratic work schedules, like the iPad is what lets me make comics. So I'm happy it exists. I'm happy to have it, and all that. So
Yeah, it's really good. It is really good for drawing on the go, for sure.
yeah.
So yeah, the immediacy of it is really good. I use it to do thumbnails, and that's about it, because I like to draw on the couch. I like to draw thumbnails on the couch, so I can really spread out with my script and everything.
That's something I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more of, because technically I have two iPads. The first one I got, for some reason, like in Clip Studio, no matter what I did, towards the end, the touch, the palm rejection or something just wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. So like I would get these, like I would like put down a line and I would get literally like a dozen stray lines shoots out. So then you have to undo them
Oh,
all. Like
weird.
it wasn't happening consistently, but then towards the end it was happening enough to where I'm like, this is literally like costing me like a half hour, of my day, like undoing, and then trying to figure it out and all that. And I went through the whole thing. I completely wiped it. I, reset everything. And at that point I had no warranty on it or whatever. So, and also like it wasn't, it was chugging. Like for some reason, like it kept like telling me that I was using too much memory, which I don't know why. I was only using it for drawing, but and it should have been more than fine for that. But I ended up biting the bullet and getting the newer one earlier this year. So I still have the other one, and it's good. Like for some reason, Procreate works just fine in it. Never an issue. But I don't like drawing comics in Procreate. I don't know if you've ever used Procreate at all.
I have. I've never tried to draw a whole comic in it, and that sounds like I don't know how you would do that, but lots of people
I'm,
do. So I don't know.
I, if I was just starting out and I didn't know how to use Clip Studio, yeah, I'm sure it'd be something much intuitive or whatever. But I was so used to Clip Studio from when it was Manga Studio. I'm so used to that layout and that functionality that it was such a big learning curve. But it's essentially become now though my digital comic reader, and a sketchbook, because I can use Procreate to sketch around with and stuff like that. But sitting on the couch and doing all that is something I'm definitely looking more forward to, now that my schedule itself is a little bit uh, more opened up, because my kids are now both in school full time and all that. So I'm not stealing hours here and there trying to get stuff done, on top of everything. So, but anyway, I'm rambling on again. So in terms of brushes, that's kind of like where all your brushes are. Were there any other brushes you wanted to talk about that you're really enjoying, or have you made brushes before, like, and to put
I
out?
haven't made brushes in Clip Studio. I did make some brushes in Photoshop a very long time
Okay.
ago.
Okay.
But they weren't great. I did make some okay splatter brushes that time. But yes, I would like to try making my own brushes
Yeah.
for sure. Some other brushes I like. Well, you mentioned sketching with Jason Piperberg's dry brushes. There is a friend in brush, an ink brush I like for that called Scorch, I think.
Scorch.
Yeah.
I was check to see if I got that, because I'm definitely at the point where I have so many different brushes that I'm like, it's way too many, and I use maybe a dozen, but like that's just how it goes. You want to get that one or two brushes in that pack, but you get like 20 of them. So it's like, all
Yeah,
right, I guess I gotta
I
buy
have
this thing now.
literally hundreds of brushes I have never used, and I still keep
Yeah.
buying them. And it isn't even that I can't find just the right brush. I just really like brushes. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like
I like trying new
I
brushes, and yeah,
yeah, I didn't think I needed any dry brushes, but then I just saw the Piperberg ones, and I'm like, these look really, really cool. Okay, I'm gonna
yeah.
get them.
And
Yeah.
also speaking of dry brushes, the Rusty Nib pack has some really good dry brushes in it.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to investigate that some more too, because sure they're all dry brushes, but they're not all the same.
No,
Who
they're not
knows?
all the same.
You might like use that one might be good for that one other random thing you need it for.
Yeah.
Having made some brushes in Clip Studio, it's really fun. You can easily like lose a day making brushes or variations of that. Um, Even something simple like the guitar brushes I made, which is basically just a 2D image of the guitar, but I just did a whole bunch of different models and stuff like that, and or even like doing the guitar strings where they're gauged appropriately from thicker to smaller and all that, or making a fret brush where and then you have all the correct amount of frets spaced out correctly, like that kind of like ultra nerdy thing. Like that's just for me, that's just for me to regain some sanity. But I've had a few friends use them, which is nice, and occasionally someone will buy them off of Etsy.
Nice.
but but there's a lot of fun texture stuff and like um things that, so I recommend, like if you're looking for kind of like a little brain break for something, like make a brush. It's super easy. I mean, they make it like ridiculous easy to make a brush in Clip Studio. So uh, I highly recommend it. It just as also as a kind of like a good learning exercise to like figure out. For me, it is what I'm not assuming that you need this help. Like it helped me figure out like how to better tweak settings of other brushes, because I'm
Hmm.
learning like, okay, this does this and this does this and all that, and it's really kind of opened up a bunch of stuff for me in that way. So anyway, I could probably talk about brushes for another half hour, but no one wants to hear that.
At one point, I made a bunch of notes. I was going to make a video about my favorite brushes, and I never did.
Oh yeah, I'm still time. There's still time to do it, because then you can show everyone what you do with those brushes, and that's and I would definitely be one of the people who's watching that, because I'm just a sucker for those things. Like, here's my favorite things. It doesn't matter, like favorite brush videos and like favorite riff videos for metal. Like those are things it's like catnip to me. It's like I don't care if it's this guy, someone playing this riff I've heard 1,000 times before. They said that's their favorite one. Let's hear it. Like or when people are like, "Oh, here's my favorite brushes," like even if it's something like I'm never going to use myself or whatever, it's just like it's just kind of cool to see uh, what people are doing with their stuff and all that. And it stems down to a lot of the reason I do this show and a lot of stuff I enjoy is just wanting to hear people talk about the things they're enjoying, what they're doing, and what they're passionate about, because that's what's more interesting to me than what they don't like and what what they think is wrong with everything. It's like, I'd rather tell me what about the good things. We hear enough about everyone's dislikes. Tell me about the good things you like. Um, and I know one thing you gotta like is the fact that Last Band on Earth is already funded.
Yeah, that's very
You've reached your
exciting.
funding goal. You've as of right now, it is at um, I will use American monies because it's giving me the American monies. You're at 3843 out of 2,892 of your goal, which is over almost a full $1,000 over the goal, which is awesome because you have 22 days left to go, so there's nowhere left but up on these things. I'm glad that you have that time now to like, okay, that initial like trepidation of like, are we gonna get funded, is done, and now there's the new one of like, okay, how high is this gonna
How
go? Is it gonna
high can
stay
it
like,
go? Can we get to 8,000?
yeah,
That'd be
or is it
nice.
gonna or is it gonna stay pretty much around here for the next 22 days, which will be its own special kind of torture.
Well,
I
I'm
hope
pretty
yeah,
sure some people will donate right at the end. I hear that's a thing that
yeah,
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The last 48 to 24 hours are usually a um, really good times to like you see a good amount of people coming in,
yeah,
because Kickstarter is really great at letting people know like, hey, this thing's almost over with, even even if you don't send out that update yourself or
yeah.
contact people.
Those email reminders are really good. Like,
Yeah, I mean
I think the most.
it's yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's reminded me too many times to go back somebody's book that I was following, because I'm like, wait, didn't I back this already? I didn't. Okay, let me go do this. So yeah, that's one thing I think Kickstarter does really well, is just like, hey, don't forget this.
Yeah, but yeah, like the highest percentage has come from those emails at the start.
Nice,
That's
nice.
awesome. Yeah. And
Yeah,
they
yeah. I
didn't
mean,
have that when my husband did his two Kickstarters. They didn't have
okay.
the pre-launch sign up.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that works really
I think that's
well.
I think that's a really cool function they have.
Yeah,
It's helped us out with our Kickstarters, and it seems to help out other people really well. Like you just mentioned, like it gets things that's like boom, kicking the door off, and just charging right in there. It's been tagged as a project we love from Kickstarter, which is great because that does help increase the visibility of everything and
yeah,
search terms and stuff like that.
yeah. I'm so
Um,
excited about that because I really wanted that certified cool badge in the Diamond Previews catalog. I thought I
yeah.
deserved it, and I never got it. So
Uh,
this definitely makes up for that.
and it's as far as I know from what I've been told, the project we love thing, like it's not like, it is a curated thing. It's people
Yeah,
actually looking at your campaign and saying like, this is really cool. We should hype this up more. It's not some sort of algorithmic thing like, oh, they hit their funding and the X amount of time, blah blah. We'll
yeah,
slap this label on it. You know, everything I've heard about it is like, it is legitimately like
yeah. It's given out
people
by a
saying,
real person. Yeah,
yeah, they're like, this deserves this thing, which I agree with. Last Banner is really cool.
thank you.
And I really hope everyone goes and checks it out. Again, you have 22 days left as of recording. When this post, will probably be closer to just over a week or so. um and I'll try to get this out before Halloween, so that my lighting and stuff makes more sense for the podcast. But if not, it'll definitely be out just after, and plenty of time for people to go check it out. Are there any stretch goals or anything like that that you're really excited about potentially having for the book, or is that something you kind of want to like keep under wraps until you're closer to that?
So I decided if we hit $5,000 Canadian, that I would make sticker sheets for everybody who
Nice.
purchased the book, the physical book. So we're past that now. So I guess I have to design a sticker sheet. I didn't think we would get that far, to be honest. I guess I could have made that higher. Could have made it 6,000, but oh well.
Well, now you gotta think of something for 6,000, which no
I don't know.
pressure.
I can't really think of anything because like they always say, "Oh, don't have feature creep on your Kickstarters because then you'll spend too much money
Yeah,
on
yeah.
these little doodads that aren't the
Mhm.
book. The focus should be mostly the book." Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm always, I'm always a fan of stickers. Like, so you have the sticker sheet. We do like little mini prints, which are, very cost feasible.
yeah. Oh, it'd be cool
That
to
kind of stuff.
do. It'd be cool to do Rezo prints, but I don't think there's a place here that will do those. And I also don't know
Yeah.
how to do the separations for them anyway. So, yeah.
um, uh, all that I would say is that, I am a digital backer, but if Charlie or Bonkers were going to be on part of that sticker sheet, I might be a little bit more persuaded to make sure I get those.
There might
Um,
be one of them on there. Yes.
uh, but no, that's awesome, and I totally get the methodology of just like, just keep the focus on the book and all that, because there's definitely the other way to go, where's way too much stuff. Just, this is way too
Mhm.
much stuff. And I've backed a few Kickstarters where I just got so much stuff went after the book. I'm like, I don't know what to do with all this. Like, it's cool that you're able to like get this stuff done and made and provide these extra little doodads. But I was, you know, maybe it's just 'cause I'm coming from the point of view as a creator myself. Like, I would rather you kept your money, like, and paid yourself a little bit more, and just give me the book. That's what I wanted. That's what I'm here for. Um, but regardless, sticker sheets are never a bad thing. I think it's always a fun thing to have, especially since I'm always finding interesting things to put stickers on. So
Yeah, I love stickers, so I really wanted to
yeah,
do them.
can never go wrong with some stickers. That's what I
Yep.
say. Uh, as long as we have laptops and sketchboard pros and iPad covers and stuff like that, we'll have some sketchbook covers. We have stuff to put our stickers on. Um, my goal one day is to like have enough stickers from people's projects to like do get one of those like build your own like guitar kits and just like laminate it all with those stickers, seal it up and all that. But that's, I don't need another guitar right now. I don't need to find another space for one right now. But I'm still collecting the stickers. So looking forward to that. So thank you so much for your time, Elaine. I've had a blast chatting with you. Everyone, please go check out The Last Man on Earth. It's on Kickstarter right now. It's doing awesome. It's a fantastic book. You really need to read it. It's if you're just a fan of just really, really, really great comics, which why wouldn't you be? You're gonna love it. The art's fantastic. The story's great. The characters are great. The concept itself, I really love, and there's just tons of cool shit in this book that I think it's just something for everyone in this book, and I really think that if you check it out, you're gonna find that as well. Elaine, if you have anything else you want to add for the book, let everybody know now and where they can find you on social media.
So yeah, you can find me in most places as at Elaine M. Will, and I'm most active on Blue Sky, so that's at elainemmwill.bsky.social. And then I also have a website, cuckoosnestpress.com, although I need to update that. And yeah, other than that, I guess check out the Kickstarter.
Awesome. Elaine, once again, thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. This was great.